Well, folks, that's pretty much all she wrote for the Oakland Raiders playoff hopes. They lose 34-20 against the Kansas City Chiefs at home. It's a very, very weird game. It wasn't actually playing in my neck of the woods. Didn't get to go to a sports bar and watch it live. So I had to kind of go back and look at it, after the game and look at the stats. And obviously, the one thing that jumps out at me in this loss, and there are some oddities, a lot of oddities going on here we need to discuss, is you look at Derek Carr's numbers. I mean, he had almost 300 yards. It's like 280 something, I want to say off the top of my head. He got sacked a couple times, so that pretty much set him back. Compared to Alex Smith, who had way less than 200. But at the same time, Derek Carr, he also had 2 touchdowns, but he had 3 interceptions, which is completely uncharacteristic of him. And of course, worst of all, he had the pick 6 thrown in the fourth quarter. And really, the fourth quarter is where this game completely went off the rails. Going into it, the Raiders actually had a 20-14 lead. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? We can hold on to hope here. Just, played really solid defense. Get another field goal, tighten the lead. This is a game the Raiders can and should win. So imagine my surprise when I come back 15 minutes later and the final score is Kansas City 34, Oakland 20. I can't even fathom what happened there. Okay, so yeah, Alex Smith came back. They threw the touchdown. They went the 2-point conversion, didn't get it. 20-20. Then they come back, go for it 26-20. So I mean, the Raiders should be in that. But then the pick 6 happens, and then they get the 2-point conversion, and it's just complete disaster. An utter collapse in the fourth quarter. And overall, I mean, you look at the Raiders' stats. I mean, they shut down the Kansas City run game. They had less than 100 yards. In a lot of ways, I mean, they shut down Alex Smith. He had less than 200 yards passing. The Raiders, once again, Derek Carr had really high numbers, but those turnovers, God, those turnovers are killing us. But beyond that, the other thing, we got to throw out Latavius Murray because he actually had a really, really good game. Even if he does turn over the ball a lot. I mean, the guy is Fumbly McFumbleson. We got to glue his hands like that one receiver in the replacements just to keep the ball from coming out because that's a recurring problem. But another problem we're seeing offensively with all this high-power offense, you look at all these guys, they can rack up a lot of yards, but the problem is they can't hold on to the ball. I mean, Amari Cooper, for all the talent he has, this dude is dropping so many passes, leading the league in drop passes. I mean, if you can actually get him the ball, he can juke for like another 15, 20 yards. The fact of the matter is, you just got to get him to reel it in. And that's one of those things where it's just football fundamentals. I mean, there's something you can't map out. You can't go into the playbook and change things. That's just basic rudimentary skill, and he's got to work on that. This dude could be a Pro Bowler. This dude could possibly be a Hall of Famer. He could be our next Tim Brown. He could be the next Randy Moss. He's that talented. But he's got to get that stuff down. And just around the board, the Raiders' defense actually looked really good. Don't let that score give it away. The Derek Carr interception, just, oh God, I don't even want to think about it. I don't know. It's one of those things where you just look back at some of these really, really, really close losses. You look back at the Chicago loss. You look back at the Detroit loss. You look back at the Pittsburgh loss, and you realize that if just one thing would have gone differently, if the Raiders would have made one more field goal or made one more first down, instead of having a 5-7 record right now, I mean, feasibly, they could be 7-5. I mean, they could be a legitimate playoff contender. But life throws you a curveball or an interception. Keep with the football analogy. And I don't know. Like I said, I didn't expect the Raiders to make the playoffs this year. They'd be a much, much improved team, and we're seeing that for sure. But at the same time, we're not there yet. We're seeing some optimistic signs, but frankly, I don't know. We still got a lot of work to do, and this game exemplified that. So basically, at this point, the Raiders are more or less out of the playoff picture. I mean, yeah, feasibly they can still make it to the postseason, but the amount of things that have to happen are just absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, they're pretty much just playing for pride from this point on. And really, the best you can do is play play spoiler. We got Green Bay, got another game against San Diego, another game against Denver, and then the final one January 2nd against Kansas City. So looking here, optimistically, the best we can hope for is 9-7, which seems very unrealistic because there's some tough games ahead of us. And the worst we can be looking at is 5-11, which is still shockingly better than most things that we've had over the last 15 years. But ultimately, I think the Raiders, they're going to go 7-9. I think they'll win against San Diego. They'll win against Kansas City. We'll see against Green Bay. We'll see against Denver. But I think that's kind of reasonable to assume they'll go in there and play quasi-decent. Maybe 8-8. But like I said, they'll just, in my estimates, they'll run out just shy of a 500 record. And next season, I think we're going to have to turn the corner. I mean, there are some offensive things we need to work on. I got to work on getting a good center because not having Rodney Hudson is a huge blow. Obviously, the corners are the biggest problem for the Raiders right now. But I think, really, next year, that's going to be the year. I mean, you have just a quasi-decent defensive load up during the draft. You make some pretty good free acquisitions after the Super Bowl, and this team could be relevant again. But, 34-20 loss to Kansas City. Losing a divisional game this late in the season, especially when playoffs are on the line, I mean, that's always a blow. But you got to have hope. Things are getting better. And we'll see what happens the rest of the season. We'll see.